Sometimes, things around us disappear in a blink of an eye, not because someone took them, but because fate decided to test us in the hardest ways. In places like resorts, where people smile, laugh, and live moments of peace, they have no idea that in some dark corner, all this serenity could turn into an endless nightmare. That night, everyone was enjoying their time, hoping to sleep and wake up to a new day. Everyone except for one person, who never returned. A little girl with an innocent face was the last thing they saw before safety vanished from the place. 3 years of age were enough to plant an entire lifetime of joy in her family's hearts, yet a few fleeting seconds were enough to erase everything. The question is not just where she went. The real question is, what can a human being do when their most precious soul is ripped away without a reason and without a trace? Today, we open one of the darkest and most mysterious cold cases in the history of modern crime. The story of Madeleine McCann, the little girl who vanished, and whose name, despite the passing of the years, continues to echo in the minds of millions. Where did Madeleine go? My dear viewers, before we dive into today's story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and let's get started. In May 2007, the peace that enveloped the Praia da Luz resort in Portugal shattered in an instant. The reason? A little girl, just 3 years old, vanished without leaving a single trace. This incident sent shockwaves across the entire world. What began as a safe, peaceful holiday suddenly transformed into every parent's worst nightmare. How could a quiet family lose their child while on vacation? Where did Madeleine go? Was she taken? Or did something far more sinister happen? This case became one of the most mysterious disappearances in criminal history, leaving millions of people searching for answers to this very day. Madeleine Beth McCann was born on the 12th of May 2003 in Leicester, United Kingdom, and was the eldest child of Kate and Jerry McCann. The family lived in the village of Rothley, England, where both parents worked in the medical field. As for Madeleine, she was known to be a cheerful, sweet, and highly intelligent child, and she had 2 younger twin siblings. In 2007, the McCann family was on vacation with their friends at the Praia da Luz resort in Portugal, as I mentioned earlier. Every evening, they would gather to have dinner together at one of the resort's restaurants. On May 3rd, following their usual routine, they went to dine with their friends. The restaurant was located about 50 meters away from the apartment where their children were fast asleep. To make sure their children were doing okay, they left the patio door unlocked, taking turns checking on them throughout the evening. At around 10 p.m., Kate walked into the apartment to check on the kids. There, she found herself facing a terrifying scene. The bedroom door was open, wider than usual, and the window was flung completely open. Madeleine's bed was completely empty, but her favorite toy, her beloved pink stuffed cat, was left behind in its place. Madeleine had vanished, without leaving a single trace. In a sheer state of panic, Kate rushed back to the restaurant screaming, "Madeleine's gone!" Chaos instantly erupted. Friends, guests, and resort staff immediately gathered, desperately searching everywhere for the little girl. At first, everyone believed that Madeleine might have just wandered off or gotten distracted by something in or around the resort. But with every passing minute, the situation grew increasingly terrifying. Late into the night, dozens of people searched the resort, the beach, and the nearby streets using flashlights. But unfortunately, there was still no sign of Madeleine. By morning, it became glaringly obvious that this was no simple case of a lost child. Something horrific had definitely happened to her. The Portuguese police then took over the case, but their actions raised immediate red flags and drew heavy criticism. The crime scene was never secured. A massive influx of people walked in and out of the McCann's apartment, destroying crucial forensic evidence. Furthermore, Border authorities weren't notified of the disappearance until 24 hours later. Precious time was lost time that could have been absolutely critical to the investigation. But the most terrifying part is that Madeleine remains missing to this very day, and the investigation quickly dissolved into a tangled web of rumors, theories, and suspects. One of the most shocking narratives to emerge was the theory that Madeleine's own parents were involved in her disappearance. Of course, this was nothing more than a narrative and a theory. To give you the full picture, investigators speculated that Kate and Jerry might have accidentally given their daughter an overdose of sedatives. Upon discovering the tragedy, they supposedly staged a kidnapping to avoid the consequences. This theory gained massive traction, especially after cadaver dogs detected the scent of a corpse inside the family's rented car and on the clothes of Madeleine's mother, Kate. However, forensic tests failed to confirm these allegations, and most experts emphasized that there was insufficient evidence to support this theory. On the other hand, multiple eyewitness reports emerged, with people claiming that on the night of Madeleine's disappearance, they saw a man carrying a child near the McCann's apartment. This testimony reignited the hope that the little girl had indeed been kidnapped. This raised even more questions, and suspicions soon shifted toward Robert Murat, a British man living near the resort who had offered to help with the investigation. Because his behavior seemed strange and erratic, the police began treating him as a potential suspect. His house was searched, and his computers and phones were confiscated for forensic analysis. Robert was interrogated multiple times, but investigators failed to find any conclusive evidence linking him to the case. After a few months of investigation, all suspicions against him were dropped, yet his name remained tied to the case for a very long time. As the mystery of Madeleine McCann continued to deepen, fueled by new theories and unanswered questions, the case rapidly garnered global attention. The little girl's disappearance became one of the most heavily discussed topics in media history. With investigative reports dominating front-page headlines, Madeleine's desperate parents, Kate and Jerry McCann, pleaded with the public through the press, hoping to uncover any leads. They launched a massive, widespread search campaign that caught the attention of world leaders and established a dedicated support fund called Find Madeleine. The goal was not only to keep the public's attention on the case, but also to raise funds to finance a private investigation. The McCanns conducted hundreds of interviews, urging people not to forget their missing daughter and to share any piece of information that might help find her. They appeared on dozens of major talk shows and primetime news programs, giving detailed accounts of exactly what happened that night. They also sought assistance from high-ranking officials, including the British Prime Minister and top investigators. Consequently, the search for Madeleine became one of the largest and most expensive missing person campaigns in history. Yet, despite all the exhaustive efforts, the mystery of Madeleine's disappearance remains entirely unsolved to this day. Overall, while these exhaustive efforts helped raise millions of pounds in donations, they simultaneously sparked massive controversy and criticism. Some journalists and public figures accused the McCanns of engineering a media circus to draw an immense amount of attention to themselves, with some even went as far as describing their behavior as a theatrical act. Articles began surfacing in the press, questioning how the collected funds were being spent, while heated debates raged across social media over whether the parents were truly doing everything in their power to find their daughter. As the years rolled by, the case seemed to slip into a dark void of obscurity, with suspicions leading to endless dead ends. However, in 2020, German authorities dropped a bombshell that sent shockwaves through the global community once again. They announced a new prime suspect, a German national named Christian Bruckner. Bruckner, a convicted felon with a disturbing history of theft and assault, had been living in a camper van near the Praia da Luz resort during the exact period Madeleine vanished in 2007. Shockingly, cell phone records placed him in the immediate vicinity of the apartment on the night of the disappearance, where he received a highly suspicious phone call. Although German prosecutors went on record stating they are treating the case as a presumed murder and claim to hold concrete evidence they have yet to fully disclose, no official charges have been brought against Bruckner specifically for Madeleine's disappearance to this day. The suspect continues to deny any involvement, leaving the investigation suspended between flickering hope and agonizing uncertainty. The disappearance of Madeleine McCann is far more than a cold case. It is a profound human tragedy that embodies every parent's worst nightmare. Nearly 2 decades later, Madeleine's bed remains empty, and her family is still waiting for a single answer to heal their broken hearts. Where is Madeleine? Will the fog ever clear to reveal the ultimate truth? My dear viewers, what is your theory on this chilling case? Do you believe the truth will ever come to light? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and hit the notification bell for more upcoming investigations. See you in the next story. Stay safe.